This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the January 2022 Cataloging Interest Group meeting. I am Jennifer Weston. I'm the facilitator of this group. And on behalf of the organizing committee, whose names you will see at the top of the agenda, we welcome you to the new year and to new conversations with catalogers. So if you're new to this group, welcome. We're very glad to have you. It is an interest group, so anyone is welcome to join that's interested at all in cataloging with Evergreen, even as just as an ally. Welcome. The agenda you see here and that was shared will magically transform into the minutes of this meeting. So if you have the link to the agenda, the minutes will be taken right here on this document as we go along. I tend to just jot notes down and then make them look pretty at the end of the call. I tend to go back and just kind of refine them, as it were, so that if you have this link, you'll have links to the minutes. This meeting is obviously being recorded, and that link to the recording will be shared in the next 24 to 48 hours, and it will be updated on our wiki. And there is a link to our group wiki here as well, if anyone's unfamiliar with that. That is my general update, and thanks again to the organizing committee, those of you that are here. Anybody on the organizing committee want to say hello before I keep scrolling through the agenda and introduce yourself? Okay, we should all see their names. I thank you all for being here. And again, your microphones are muted, but if anybody wants to at any point unmute your microphone to join the conversation, please feel free to do so, but keep your microphones muted unless you are talking to us, just to prevent some feedback on the microphones. And of course, the chat box is open, so if anybody wants to just drop a note in the chat box, I will try to monitor it, but others in the organizing group tend to monitor that too and let me know if I've missed anything. That said, this is a light agenda for today. Thought we'd start a little easier, a little lighter for January. The brief agenda is there. We're going to go through our regular standing agenda items, and then we're going to talk a little about community activity, and then our program, and I use that word loosely for today, is just a brief review of last year, and then some planning for next year. And then we've got plenty of time to talk about any kind of Launchpad bugs that anybody might want to draw attention to, any questions you may have. We'll just have time for an open forum at the end of our conversation today. So my first announcement, or plea for help, I suppose, is our announcement. Again, we announced this in November, but if anyone is interested in joining the organizing committee, we are looking for a few volunteers. The role of the organizing committee is really just to bring information to this community and then to facilitate the sharing of information, because it's not just me. I don't do this on my own. I send out the agendas, but there are a group of us that kind of stay in contact throughout the year. We don't meet a lot. We don't have monthly calls. We do try to meet probably quarterly at the most through go-to meeting just like this, just through a conference call. Other than that, we just stay in touch with ideas and conversations through email. So if anyone is interested in doing that, we want to make sure that we've got a good cross-section of the cataloger community and library community represented here. As you can see from our list above about who we are, if you feel like your organization is not represented and you want to be part of that, please let me know. And there's my email address. Is that throughout the year we ask for very specific kinds of interaction and feedback from catalogers, and this is more of a general, just if you want to be involved throughout the year. So thank you for your consideration. Or if you have names you would like to nominate's a strong word. If you have names that you would like to submit to us for us to reach out and make that invitation, please let me know as well. And Evergreen release notes, since we last got together in November, we didn't meet in December because that's the busy time of the year, and we tend not to meet in December. There's not been a new release since our November meeting, but there is a release here to release notes for 3.8. I said 0.0, but that will always be the release to the whole series of 3.8. That link will work for all of that. The tabular release notes are up to date, and if you're not familiar with the tabular release notes, I would highly recommend you check that out. What we do with that is we maintain a separate tab for each version of Evergreen. So 3.8 has its own tab, 3.7 has its own tab, and so forth. And we started this year when we update each of the new features or new functionality or fixes that were in any of the releases. Those are there and categorized, but they're also there with links to the Launchpad bugs now. So if you want more detail about why or what was fixed in a particular bug and included in a release, then it's there for you. So that's your tabular release notes, and we as a organizing committee keep that up to date. If you have any suggestions about the format or questions, please let me know. Or if for any reason you can't access it, let me know as well. And then just as a reminder, we do keep a page on our group wiki that tells you what the latest release is. So if you find that you're looking at release notes, and it would help if I put 3.8 on there, wouldn't I'll update that. This is always just a good, easy place to go. And you think, gosh, what is the latest release? And am I on the latest release? This is a quick, easy way to find out. In fact, let me see if I've updated 3.8 on there. As I'm saying we do, yep, 3.8.0. There you go. So that's what the latest releases page looks like. And if you keep that bookmarked, it's a good reference. I was going to say tool, but a good, a reference page on the wiki for you. And then, of course, we always link to the Evergreen official documentation for anybody that hasn't used that recently. The one thing that we highlighted several months ago was that if you're looking for the most recent documentation, and I've just linked over there, here's 3.6 and above, you go to the HTML there. This is the new Antora version of the documentation. If you want to switch between 3.6, 3.7, and 3.8, you click on that latest button. Let me undo what I just did. There we go. At the bottom right, there's a drop down beside the word latest. You can see 3.8, 3.7, 3.6. So if there are any nuances and differences between those, that's how you would switch between them. So if you just want to look at 3.7, for example, there you go. So I just thought I would remind people of that as we kick off the new year, and if we have new people joining us. And that's kind of it for just our usual release note conversation. We will look at some Launchpad Bugs things that have come out of some of the testing you guys have done with 3.8, but that's it for that. I'm probably not going to pause and just ask for questions between each one of these topics as I normally would, because I'm just going to count on you to interrupt me and just ask questions anytime you want to, so feel free. Other than that, I'm just going to keep going. I'll watch the chat. I do have an announcement about the Evergreen Conference. The announcement is there will be an online Evergreen Conference this year. And I think Ruth is with us. The short survey went out.
Yes.
Yes. Do you want to say something about that?
It's really short. We've gotten 2 submissions so far from that. Let me, one of them, and the reason that I say that there have been 2 submissions is that I don't want to judge the quality of them. They were lovely, but more feedback would definitely be helpful. We need to establish a theme for the conference and would like some of your suggestions in terms of keynote topic and maybe keynote speaker. If you know somebody that you think would be great for an open source library software conference, would love to hear. Let me see if I can very quickly, there we go. Some examples so far have been the keynote topic being the language Python, especially Python for data analysis. This was an anonymous entry. And then there was also the suggestion that Neil Patrick Harris speak about making libraries fun, and the conference theme being combating the virus with joy. So if we can get some more suggestions, it might help us make a better, a good decision that would apply to a lot of people. Please fill out that survey. I mean, I'm all about joy, but yeah.
Aren't we all? Those are interesting.
Yeah. Although I also do love a funny contribution, so feel free. But time is kind of the essence. So if you have something that you would like to have discussed or highlighted, or a theme that you think would be great, please submit it. It is a very short survey.
We could either click on it here together. How about that? Oh, we have a moment. See, very short. Name, email, there you go.
Yeah, everything's optional.
You have a suggestion for a keynote speaker? Would you like to be a keynote speaker? Feel free
to
nominate
you can suggest yourself, by the way.
Yes.
Kind of like committees where you can self-nominate.
Certainly. If you can impersonate Neil Patrick Harris, that would be something for us that would be good for us to know. Okay.
I mean,
So there we go.
that comment, Jennifer, actually opened up a world of possibilities now that I'm thinking about it.
Certainly. Okay, so topics, themes, speakers, there we are. I will say that when it comes to topics, we will talk about this as a group several times, probably February and March. Well, every month, because we're looking at the conference being in general June. Ruth, I'm not sure if we've verified the dates good enough, but it'll definitely be June is what we're going with. Great, I'm going to miss the date.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be this. Oh, goodness, no, my feet are to the fire.
Yeah.
Let me get this
Just
calendar pulled up.
passed the fire to you. I apologize for giving you advance notice there.
Yes, it is going to be the second full week of June. So
June 13th.
June 13th through the 17th.
You heard it here first, folks. There we go.
We're not entirely sure of what the platform will be this year. We definitely took to heart the experience for the international conference regarding how Hopin worked for that, which was definitely a different. Can you suggest multiple topics in that? Yeah. Yes, you can. Just it's a free text field, so just separate them by columns. Did the sound go away?
Janet, can you hear us now? I think Ruth and I were both thinking and typing at the same time, so there might have been no sound for a moment. Just let us know if you can hear us. Okay.
Okay. Andrea's like, man, I wish Ruth's sound would go away.
Not today, folks. Never.
Okay.
Okay, Janet says now and the recording started up again. Huh, that's odd. Well, at least you're here with us, Janet. I wanted to make sure before we move on. Okay, anybody have any comments or any other questions about the conference or about submitting responses to the survey? You can always, to give you even after this survey time has come and go, if you have suggestions about the conference, you can always submit those to the Evergreen cataloging listserv. Because we'll be the next thing that will happen is call for proposals will go out, and we'll be looking for ideas to talk about cataloging specific kinds of presentations. So keep that in mind as well. The cataloging listserv will be there for you even after the survey is no longer active. Okay, after the announcement about the conference, which could rightfully have been a part of a celebration, I'm going to move on to celebrations now. First celebration is the Outreach Committee announced the fourth quarter 2021 that the recipient of the spotlight for the last quarter and for this quarter until a new one is announced is Irene Patrick, who is the Electronic Resources Librarian at the State Library of North Carolina. And I will say on a personal note, I've had the pleasure of working with Irene when I was in the NC Cardinal Library structure there. And I loved working with Irene. She is one of the most persistent yet calming forces that I have worked with in the Evergreen world. And we've invited Irene to say a few words today just about her experience in getting involved with Evergreen and her experience staying involved in Evergreen, because she's always there, and she's one of the folks that works with the serials module as well. So she's had some great suggestions, and I know has had to overcome some frustration with that module as time has marched on. But again, I won't keep talking about Irene. I just want to turn it over to you, Irene, if you've got a few words you want to say to the group, and let us thank you for all that you do and say congratulations to you.
Well, thank you all. I was just very surprised when Andrea contacted me, because I was really not expecting anything like that. So, and I've been more involved with my local library and with Cardinal, and not as much on the general Evergreen as most of you all have been. So I was quite surprised by that. But yeah, I've been really interested in integrated library systems from way back. We right shortly after I started working at the State Library, we implemented Dynex years ago, and I was acquisitions librarian at the time, so got very involved with that user group and very interested in enhancements with acquisitions and serials from way back then. So that's continued through the years, and we're not using acquisitions right now because of the changes to the state's requirements, but we're still using serials, and definitely has been interesting trying to create serial patterns and so forth in Evergreen. So been trying to push improvements with that. And yeah, just have very much enjoyed the Evergreen user group. Everybody's very friendly, and there's lots of ways to stay involved, even if you're not as involved as some folks, and just, coming to the regular meetings like the cataloging interest group and going to the conference. And the brainstorming sessions at the conference have always been very interesting, kind of providing ideas for ways that we can improve the software. So I've enjoyed doing that.
Well, thank you again, Irene. We absolutely love having you here, and you're a great model for people that think, well, I can't contribute all the time, but you do. I mean, by just being part of those brainstorming conversations and being part of the conference and being part of these meetings. So very loud round of applause for Irene. And you'll see that in the chat message too. People are congratulating you.
Thank you all. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. I wish we could just continue to ask you questions about your role, but we're going to move on. But if anybody wants to reach out to Irene directly, I believe, well, if her contact information is not in the Spotlight announcement, then she certainly contributes to the Evergreen listserv. So you can find her that way too. Okay, retirement news. Janet Schrader, who is a organizing committee member, who has been at CW Mars for quite a while. I'll let her tell you how long. She's a bibliographic services supervisor there, and you most certainly have seen Janet's name on the cataloger listserv. If you have not attended these meetings, if you haven't attended a conference, you still know Janet because she asks excellent questions. She moves conversations forward, and she has shared all of her documentation, and she has shared her learning experience and the way she supports an entire organization of catalogers and has stayed sane through all of it. So, Janet, we want to say congratulations to you and many, many, many thanks for all you have done. And we are glad you're maybe going to stick around as part of the cataloging group so that we'll still see you from time to time. And what I'd like to do is, I didn't ask you about this before, but if you'd like to say just a couple of words, I certainly welcome that.
Well, I have the sound back now. It blipped out again. I think it's my internet.
Well, you're back just in time.
I do have a word of advice for anyone. If you plan on retiring and you haven't decided how you're going to document every single thing you do at work, start now. It doesn't matter if you're 25 or 55. You're never going to get it all done in the time frame you've decided to give yourself for retiring.
That sounds like excellent advice.
Yes, that is my excellent advice. I want to thank this group for being so welcoming to me and letting me do a presentation at the Evergreen Conference last year. That was something I really enjoyed. And thank you, Elizabeth. I'll read the chat later. Let's see. I have a suggestion for a conference topic. I didn't get to the brief survey because I knew I wasn't going to be working at CW Mars when the conference happened, but if I can still work with this Evergreen Catalogers group and do bug testing, then maybe I will show up at the conference. But I wanted to say that the New England Services conference, which I believe is in April, is doing it on the value of technical services. And I think that is something that I really wanted to attend. Not sure if I should be able to do that, but it's very important that catalogers let the rest of the library staff know what they do and just sort of to blow your own horns, make yourself known. And I think maybe Neil Patrick Harris would do the keynote speech. He seems to be a very personable person who enjoys as someone mentioned earlier, spreading joy, and perhaps he's a library supporter too. You never know. There's also those people that do the posters that say read. Maybe there's somebody there. You know, I'm sure
That's
you would
true.
have standing room only. Well, standing room only, since it's going to be on Zoom. Sitting room only. That you would have the best attended keynote speech ever if Neil Patrick Harris did it,
I agree.
or maybe Stephen Myers, or you know.
We'll work on that. I love the possibility of it. And Jen, I do like your suggestion about the value of technical services as something we want to explore for a presentation at the conference, if not a full, what do we call them? Discussion groups that we have. I think that's an excellent idea. Oh, see, now we're really
Maybe I'll
going
stick
down
in.
the Patrick Harris. Well, it's the library. Okay, I'm not going to click on that because everybody would see me click on that, but I'm going to read it later. Thank you, Elizabeth.
And
Yes,
I will tell you that I have worked here 25 years
go.
at CW Mars, and before that, I worked at a public library for 20 years. And so now you can kind of figure out how old I am. It's a lot older than it seems. And, and right now I feel as old as I actually am, instead of what I usually say when someone says, "Oh, you've been working there for 25 years," and I say, "Yes, I started when I was 8."
Right. Well, hopefully, come this time next month, when all of the documentation and the transition is in, you will feel that way again. But,
I don't know. I'm having a really hard time letting go.
well, I can imagine. We all can. But the good thing is, you don't have to let go of this group because we'll still be here and
Oh,
you'll still
thank
be a
you.
part of
I appreciate that. I will not unsubscribe from the mailing list.
it. Yes. And you can subscribe with your own personal email. Also, the beauty of open source. If
Oh,
others aren't.
my own personal email. That's right. Now everyone will get my own personal email.
No, not everybody has to
And
see it when you subscribe.
oh, that's right. And I wonder why.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Janet, for everything. And we look forward to you sticking around with us and enjoy your retirement as long as we're part of it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Janet. Hey, moving right along. Yes, lots of congrats in the chat box there, too. So this was a light meeting, just a couple of other things. Here's the community catalogers connect portion of our meeting, just the list here of the other interest groups, our brother and sister interest groups there, and a list of when their meetings are coming up. If anybody belongs to any of these and my meeting dates are incorrect, please let me know. I just went by what their usual meeting dates are. I didn't confirm them with the groups individually. I know development's meeting right after us today. And then a couple of other just community activity notes from these that I've been following on the various listservs. The acquisitions interest group this month does have a presentation on claiming and acquisitions that Jennifer Pringle's going to do. That would be excellent to watch if you are already using acquisitions or if you're considering using acquisitions. There's been lots of improvement, lots of changes in that acquisitions module, and they're going to continue to be even more going forward. So if you want to see a nice demo for that, I would recommend it. Documentation interest group, next month they're going to be tackling a full, well, we talked about this last year, but they're going to be tackling a full review of the current Evergreen documentation, but they're going to be talking about how people can get involved and help with that. So that would be a good reason to attend the DIG February meeting. Those are also made available. Notes for those are made available, and I believe that one's a webinar, so it'll be recorded. But cataloger review is going to be needed because this is going through all the documentation to make sure it's up to date and see if anything's missing. And we all know that that's just the nature of open source documentation too, is that there's always something that needs to be added. I feel like we will tackle this on our own as well, but I'm going to encourage you to attend that meeting, and then after that meeting, we'll have our own kind of subsequent meeting about how we can participate as catalogers in reviewing that documentation. And then lastly, from the outreach committee, there's the link again. If you know of anybody who's gone above and beyond, like Irene and like Janet, just tell us who they are and what they've done. There's a nomination form for you. Linda, I see your note in the chat here, and I'm glad you asked that question because we're going to talk about subject headings here in just a moment. Tools and resources. Yep, we'll come back to that one. I see your question, but we'll answer it before the day's over. Let me pause here, though, to see if there's anybody from any of these interest groups that wants to make an announcement of any sort or wants to encourage participation in any way. I'll give you a moment before I just continue marching through the agenda.
This is Taryn. I just wanted to say that the new developers group next week is going to be talking about all of us who have recently done upgrades. Pines is actually upgrading this coming weekend, and our upgrade experiences. So kind of a general information for and heads up for anybody else that is planning an upgrade.
Oh, that's excellent. I'm just taking focus on recent updates. And what did you upgrade to, Taryn?
We are going to 3.8.
Just making a note for anybody that's planning on something similar. Thank you, Taryn. And Andrea left a note in chat. Outreach will be starting the annual report soon. Yep, that's right. We're starting a new year. So if anyone wants to help with that, let Rogan know. So I will add that note there as well. And Janet keeps losing the sound. Okay, good luck. We'll make sure you get the recording. Thanks, Janet. Okay. Contact Rogan. Got it. Okay. That said, I've got Launchpad Bugs listed here. This is our standing agenda item list. Here, we are going to look at a few specific bugs before we're done. This is just our regular link, so it gives people time to look at bugs that have those tags of cataloging or new bugs or the staff catalog, those different categories. Those just kind of link out and they filter for you on any open bugs on those categories. And thanks to Taryn's lead last year and then lots of people helping make this come true, there's a new list of a comprehensive list of tags and what those, what you might be searching for and what kind of tags are used on the bugs. So anyway, that's there. Again, just more for reference so that we can have that available for you at least once a month for you to ramble through those and see what's new and what applies to cataloging world. Okay, so moving right along, the 2021 year in review, we talked about this. Gosh, I don't remember what we talked about it. Doesn't matter. We did this last year too. I am going to click over to that. This is a nice way to see what we've done. I know on our wiki, we keep links to all of the meeting agendas and the minutes and the recording and the presentations. This is just kind of an all-in-one place document that you can share with others that might be interested in the cataloging interest group to kind of see the things we do. You can use it for your own professional development portfolio. Here are the kinds of things you've been involved in, and also to kind of track our progress as we as a community give back or offer our feedback to what's going on in development and in testing throughout the year. So and okay, Janet, I'm reading chat here. I always save the chat, so I will send it to you. And I don't often post those, but I will make sure you get a copy of the chat transcript. Sorry, let me come back to the year review. Anyway, here's this document. It tells you when things were released, the different things there. There are not links to presentations because this year, or links to any of the meetings, because this year on the wiki, we made the decision to, excuse me while I scroll up, I'm going to go slowly so as not to cause too much of a blip there on your viewing screens there. On our wiki, we have the meeting agenda and minutes. We now put, we've added a column this year that does program discussion and topics. So you can see what we talk about each month to see if you're interested in watching the recording or not, or reading the minutes. And, as things tend to blur together as time goes by so quickly, it is nice to see when we talk about things and links to any of the slides and the presentation. So that's there as well. So again, this document, oops, where'd my document go? There's my document, my year in review. It's just there to kind of do our own annual report. So we can check that off our list so it's been done. I will comment on this. I made a note in the highlights here. Let me scroll back down. I do forget sometimes you're watching my screen. I apologize for that. I do all this scrolling. Go back to the year in review. A couple of highlights. We did have 2 new version releases. What was very special this year is both of those releases had a lot of significant cataloger representation as far as the kinds of things that were released required really our testing, our feedback, our input, and we had a lot of positive response to our feedback and our questions and our input this year, especially the Angular staff catalog development. These have been, these releases are very heavily representative of a lot of the work that we do as catalogers. So I want to again thank developers that made that happen, but then also thank all of you that have been involved in testing and giving your suggestions for how to make this work for cataloging so that we're able to do our jobs at the optimal level. So thanks again for everyone that's participated in those conversations throughout the year. And then also I've made a note there was significant cataloger representation at this year's last year's Evergreen Conference. We anticipate this year's conference. I did put a link on the year in review document. That's the one link I did include to the conference website. All the presentations from that conference are still available and will be on the website. And to get back to Linda's question from earlier, the one thing we did want to touch on is in our September meeting, we talked about alternative subject headings and the kinds of ways that individual libraries, including Janet's, and Mary Llewellyn also talked about some of her work there too, how they were addressing using alternative subject headings. And specifically, this started with a conversation about the 2 subject headings of aliens and illegal aliens. And we learned that in November 12th to be exact, Library of Congress, I will say finally, made the decision to update the cataloging subject headings. So now aliens and illegal aliens will be officially replaced with non-citizens and illegal immigration. As far as I can tell, and I would like for others to join in here, as far as I can tell, this hasn't actually happened yet in the official subject headings list. So what I provided instead here was a link to the various announcements that have gone out about this decision that the Library of Congress made, and also a link to the tentative subject list that was published by the Library of Congress. This was the Policies Committee. So that's there. These are the ones that will be adopted. And I also did some quick testing. The Library of Congress authorities now list both sets of terms, aliens and illegal aliens, and non-citizens and illegal immigration, list all of those as official headings. So at least the Library of Congress authorities, this is the quick tool where you can just go to browse and look for headings. At least they recognize them as official headings, even though those PDFs that you can print out from the subject headings list have not been updated yet. At least you have that tentative subject list, which is pretty thorough. It's not just those terms. It's got several things in there that are related to how you might use them as subject headings too. Now, as far
Jennifer,
as, go ahead.
This is Lane. OCLC has updated those headings in
Good.
the OCLC database. There are a few anomalies, so that they may have to manually go back and correct, but they have done the updates.
That's wonderful. I will find that link too then and put those in there. That's great to know. I think the other is just a matter of time. I don't think that it's a matter of needing additional approval, Library of Congress, but it is nice to see that that's moving ahead. We did talk, and there's a link to that presentation from the September meeting about different ways that people are approaching doing that. At the time, we were very much looking at alternative subject headings, meaning that if Library of Congress wasn't going to do it, what you could do in your own catalogs. But then also there are other terms out there too for alternative subjects. And I think I promised at the time and did not do that I would add links to our wiki for the various different resources that are available. Those are in that presentation, but I need to pull them out and put them on the wiki as well. So if you're looking for those tools, they were in that original presentation, or at least some of them, about the ways people are going about using alternative subjects, even beyond the illegal aliens conversation. And I will do that in these notes after today's call, and then subsequently update the wiki as well with all of the information we've shared around this subject, at least from the organizing committee and those conversations from our general cataloging group conversations. Anybody else have anything to add that you might have done in your own library around this topic? And again, I would encourage, if anybody's doing this, oh, let's go back. Janet's got a note in there. I've lost my chat box. There it is. CW Marsman hybrid. Okay. Yeah, with the new non-citizens and new illegal immigration. Didn't just like using illegal paired with non-citizens. Okay, that's fine. And that's a perfect example if everybody can see Janet's note, longer note there in the chat box. It's another great way to tackle this in your own library. And I think at this point, libraries are making their own decisions for very good reasons. But what we've talked about also is how logistically to make changes in Evergreen, whether you're working with an organization like Backstage that handles your authority records, or whether you're just doing kind of these subject headings on your own, a couple of different paths there. So thanks for that information, Janet. And I was going to say that I just encourage people to continue to share what you're doing with these alternative subject headings, or replacing even those Library of Congress has approved on the cataloging listserv. Even if it's not a question, if it's a matter of here's what we did, we would love to see that as well. Okay, we're getting close to time for me to stop talking. We're going to look at Launchpad Bugs 2022 planning. I've just kind of got a couple of bullets here. Documentation review. Again, I would encourage people to attend the DIG training in February. Saying that, I have a conflict and I will not be at the DIG meeting in February, but I encourage others to do so. I will pay attention afterwards to join that conversation. And then as a group, we will get back together and spend our time contributing this year as a catalogers to that documentation review. Doesn't mean we have to write documentation. It means that this is a review of what needs to be done. Next step is how we update the documentation. I do anticipate also, next bullet point there, sending out a cataloging survey. We did one in 2020, just as things were starting to shut down around us. We'd like to do another one this year, so we'll probably do it this spring. We'll definitely do it before the conference so that we can look at ask for your feedback, your input about the kinds of things you would like to talk about in these monthly meetings. And then also we'll ask for your ideas about the kinds of presentations you'd like to see at Evergreen Conference, whether it's something you want to present on or something that you would like to see somebody else present on that you think would be beneficial. And I have already started the list with the one that the suggestion Janet gave us today about the value of technical services, that kind of theme for a presentation. So look for that survey coming in the next month or two. If you have If you participate in the 2020 survey and you would like to see those results, let me know. I will make them available when we release the next one. But in fact, I think those should all be on the wiki as well. But if you can't get to them easily, let me know and I'll be glad to share them with you. Evergreen Conference, of course, we'll be planning for, and then program suggestions, we are always looking for those as well. If you don't want to send them to the whole listserv, if you have suggestions, feel free to send them to me or to anybody on the organizing committee. Okay, open forum for discussions. I thought to get this started that we could, because we've got about 20 minutes if we want to spend just on whatever questions you guys may have, or if we wanted to look at specific launch pads, we can do that as well. And Elaine sent out an email with this series of these 5 bugs earlier this week. I'm pretty sure it was this week. Again, it's a blur. But all of these, I'm pretty sure, are related to the testing that Pines has done in Evergreen 3.8. So, Elaine, I don't know if you want to say anything specific about any of these. I've added them here so people can review them on their own.
Well, there are a couple that are really critical, and they are from our testing of 3.8. Okay. Although they are. The shelving locations only visible. The shelving locations are only visible in the holdings editor for your workstation library. So if you do cataloging for your whole system, you have to sign on separately to be with a workstation for each one of your libraries to be able to edit shelving locations. And related to that, because this was a workaround we did, you used to be able to create a system level workstation and then you could see all of your shelving locations. Well, now we're only seeing PineZone shelving locations. We're not even seeing, we're not seeing anything other than PineZone shelving locations with that one. And the holdings template with item alerts, break, save, part of that was a configuration issue that with our test server that got created. So it saves, but the dialog boxes don't act as expected. And another critical one for us is that item alerts, if they're in a if they're in a holding template, it does break save. I kind of skipped over that one a little bit.
Okay.
But if you have an item alert within your item template and you apply it, it won't save. The holdings editor won't save.
Okay. I am trying to, while you were talking, I'm trying to see if there's a 3.8 community demo server that's up.
There is.
Okay. Fantastic. I was
Yeah,
going to add a link.
has one, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to add a link to that then. I used to have a link. Where'd it go?
Now there is another bug that I believe the fix has to be applied in order for that to work. Is that right, Elaine? The one that I installed earlier on my test
Yes.
server?
Yeah, I don't know anything about the background. I just know it works.
Yeah, let me find.
That one is a really critical one. If you don't have that fix that Taryn's talking about, you can't open the holdings editor.
Yeah, so the one I just posted into chat is the one we already have it applied to ours, but I don't know that it's on the community test server.
Okay.
Yeah, we were pretty much dead in the water without that one.
Yeah.
And again, this is if you're applied to server if using 3.8.
Yes.
I'm just going to say in order to make it work. We'll just go with that.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
In order to make cataloging work.
Oh, okay. Question from Deborah. As an Evergreen newbie, how do you become a Launchpad user for bugs and adding heat to bugs? Great question. We'll finish this here. If you want to, yeah, go ahead, Taryn.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, you can create a Launchpad account for yourself. Anybody can create one and go ahead and add suggestions. I will post a few links on to the bug squashing info, which has information on like what types of things you can do.
And this agenda, these meetings are open, so anybody can edit it, Taryn. If you want to just add notes directly there too, would be.
Oh, okay.
Great. And as far as adding heat to bugs, there's some notes on the bug squashing page there too that helps you with that. It's really, you'll be prompted to say, does this apply to you? And you'll say, yes, it does apply to me. And then there are various tasks you can take if you confirm it or add a note, that sort of thing, that also adds heat to a bug. But again, I think the documents that Taryn's sharing will be very helpful.
Yeah, and if anybody can go in and confirm those bugs I reported earlier, I would really appreciate it because that does help.
I'll just say needs confirming. I'll take a look at those too. And again, you'll have to confirm them in 3.8. That's the reason I was looking for the demo server. Let me get it.
Yes, which I know that's probably just a small group of people right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, and if there's a problem with the demo server, then yeah, then we might need to get that patch applied. I'll see what I can do from this side about making sure the demo server is available. Thanks, Taryn. You do not know how many places I have too many links in too many places. There's community. And thank you, Jennifer Pringle, for looking at those on your test server. But if we get those confirmed, we can move forward a little too. Okay, so now I can stop rambling on my other screen here. Okay, anybody else have any specific Launchpad bugs? They don't have to be about 3.8, but anything that's come up.
Can I just ask a question about that bug that Taryn and Elaine were talking about making cataloging work?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not clear what you're seeing broken.
When you go to Holdings View,
yeah,
and then you attempt to open the Holdings editor to add or edit copies items or call numbers, the editor won't open. It hangs.
So you can't add volumes or copies.
No.
Okay, yeah, I see different behavior when I go to the edit link on the item table page.
I never use that.
But going through, and it works through there, but yeah, going through there, I'm going through the holdings view. I'm now seeing what you're seeing. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And thank you, those of you that are being pioneers and testing out 3.8 from the cataloging point of view. As always, we appreciate that. Okay, Taryn, I think I've got Taryn's notes here. And I'm just going to put Launchpad, using Launchpad notes. There we go. So I'll remember what that is. So Deborah, we welcome you to the Launchpad world, and anybody else that wants to make 2022 the year you start looking at bugs. And if you have any questions about any of this, of course, feel free to email us directly or just the listserv. We're here to help. Yes, certainly. Okay. Any other Launchpad bugs people want to bring to light, and either for discussion or to ask for heat? Anything you've seen since the holidays, or even just before the holidays? New stuff. I do try to go back through our listservs, but it's it's a new year, and I'm sure I've missed something along the way. But again, the listserv is a great place to post notes if you have Launchpad bugs that you want people to add heat to, or you just want people to confirm, just like Elaine said, because the confirming part is you can't post a new bug and say, here, I found this. You really need somebody else to come along behind you and go, yeah, I see this too. That's what we mean by confirming it. You just need to make sure you're in the same version of Evergreen to be able to do that. And again, anybody can do that part. And we're not at the time of the year where we start talking about a roadmap for the next version of Evergreen. So, but we'll keep our eyes out on releases for the next version of, or the next update to 3.8 and 3.7. They'll be coming. Yeah. Terrence given us a best practice, which we should all make a best practice to not confirm something or sign off on something posted from your own organization. So back to it takes a village. So if we're looking at it from different perspectives, thanks, Terrence. Well, that said, I'll probably just stop the recording and hang out here until the top of the hour in case anybody wants to continue chatting. But our next meeting will be February the 8th. We meet on the second Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. The wiki is a good place to go for information. We will post the meeting agenda in advance so you can get there. I'll post the recordings, all the usual follow-up. And we wish you all a very happy rest of the January, and we'll see you in February. And congratulations to Janet yet again on retirement. And thanks, everyone.